Well, hello there. How is everyone? I hope you're all well. You amazing, beautiful, wonderful people. It's Saturday, baby. It's Saturday. It's the weekend. We're normal people. Lucky people. So we call them lucky people. They don't even have to work. They don't even have to work. You talk about work and weekends. Hello.
I ain't doing that.
But here we are. Here I am. You're looking absolutely amazing, by the way. And we're going to get straight into the meat and potatoes as we're going on a little bit of a journey. A journey that will prove that the prosecution is lying. Specifically, Ashley Jennings is lying. And ask the question, which I know can be quite confronting, but some people are going to have to answer, if they dare, down below in the comments, exactly why they choose to accept lies that are being told to them. And if they can be told such blatant lies and see such ludicrous statements being made against those that dare to call them out, then just why? Why do you accept it? Is it purely that you just want to be right so badly that you are willing to chuck every single thing to do with having a moral compass could encompass? Let's get into it. First of all, we have to head over here because this is what I was sent first of all, which is Lucy Morningstar. Hi, Heather. And it's regarding the time advance reports. The time advance reports, the documentation, the data that would lead you to be able to look at someone's cell phone device and be able to confidently say, yes, that person was there on that date, and we know it because we have the data to prove it. And here lies the first problem. I've noticed that also is spelt wrong. Subscribe. Do me a favour and subscribe for multiple daily vids. I'll get that sorted. Thank you to those that pointed it out. But there was a problem, wasn't there? Because Ashley Jennings would come forward and she'd say,
We don't have timing advance records. I didn't even have them. We couldn't even have them to get them. I didn't start producing them until this date, and that surpassed the date that we needed, so it was pointless. We don't have them.
Along comes Ray. You're full of shit. I'm paraphrasing, but basically he's saying, look, you're full of shit. You can absolutely 100% get timing advanced records for these individuals around this crime, including none other than the accused. And let's not forget that amongst all this, you have drawn a map with a line on it and everything. It's professional. You've got a map with a line and saying this is the route he took. So you've got data, haven't you? Because how can you draw a line if you have no data? You surely couldn't do that just off of a couple of cameras. You've got a line, and where you're drawing lines. Now, he did turn around and say, look, in the absence of a lot of this data that you need in order to be able to draw that line may just literally be a figment of your imagination. So you need this data. You need the data to be able to say that your line is right. So until I see that you have the data, which I know you can get, we shall throw caution to the wind and say, look, when you do get the data, it could mean that your line is wrong. And it could say that your line is somewhere else, meaning our client, the accused, Bryan Kohbergers, he was in fact somewhere else. People weren't having any of it. People lost their minds. Lost their minds. Ashley Jennings said no. Remember that. That's important. So we come back to here. Imagine telling the magistrate that you received historical records to check for stalking and that you estimated device location 12 times. Either you have the timing advance record so you can narrow down the device location, or all you can say is the perpetrator used the cell tower that provides service to the crime scene 12 times. And then understand that both statements are intentionally misleading. They absolutely knew he wasn't over there, which is something that I have said from the start. Me have said, Eddie have said, Heather have said. There is no indication, no solid evidence that would place Bryan Kohbergers at the scene of the crime when it took place. And not only that, but even the evidence that they're trying to propagate this ideology of Bryan Kohberger being this stalker. He kept coming over. Shirley kept coming over because he was trying to see. He looked through the windows. He saw the boots. He knew what rooms people were in because of the boots and the window and the lights, the reflections and everything. He knew that the sliding door was left unlocked at night. He knew he could get into the house. He knew who was coming and going. He knew all these things because of the times that he'd come over. He knew it all because he was connected to a tower that services an area that goes up to within 100 meters of the property, which he could have been doing that had he have been sitting at home. But anyway, we continue. They absolutely knew he wasn't over there. But even there, when they knew there was no stalking, they put it in anyways. They used the same tower that services the crime scene to make it seem like something it is not, and they act like they couldn't get the information that could put him on that block if he had ever been on that block. But they don't have it because it will never support the state's claims. This is the issue, you see. If timing advance data would absolutely, undeniably help them in their cause, do you think they'd be saying, oh, it doesn't exist now? Do you think that the search warrants that have yet to be returned and shown to Ann Taylor and Eliza and Jay, and none of them have seen them? And why do you think that is? Because it doesn't support the state's case. It's not fucking rocket science. That's it. And we continue, right? We continue. Look, on December the 23rd, 2022, I was granted search warrant for Kohberger's historical CSLI. I've just got to click on it so it brings it open. From June 23rd, 2022 to current. Prospective location information and a pen-registered trap and trace on the 8458 phone to aid in the efforts to determine if Kohberger stalked any of the victims, in this case prior to the offence. Conducted surveillance on the King Road residence, was in contact with any of the victims' associates before or after the alleged offence. Any locations that may contain evidence of the murders that occurred on November 13, 2022. The location of White Elantra registered Kohberger, as well as the location of Kohberger. On December 23, 2022, pursuant to that search warrant, I received historical records for the 8458 phone from AT&T from the time the account was opened in June 2022. After consulting with Cast SA1, I was able to determine estimated locations for the 8458 phone from June 2022 to present, the time period authorised by the court. The records for the 8458 show the 8458 phone utilising cellular resources that provide coverage to the area of 1122 King Road on at least 12 occasions prior to November 13, 2022. All of these occasions, except for one, occurred in late evening or early morning hours of their respective days. So what are they trying to indicate? What are they trying to propagate in that verbiage? Do you have the time advance reports or do you not? And this is where we go down to here. Who wonders if these two victims, AT&T CDRs, have timing advance for this specific date range? And then they literally show a search warrant that is specifically asking. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a search warrant, so I know what people are going to say. They're going to say, just because you request something, it doesn't mean that it exists because you're just asking. But then if we go over to here, here's how long your wireless carrier holds on to your location data. And this is where we're going to get real interesting. The Federal Communications Commission has shared some significant digits. How many years wireless carriers keep location data about their customers? Earlier this summer, FCC Chair Jessica Rossen-Workle, or Warsel, we'll just call her Jess, sent a series of inquiries to carriers and resellers about their data privacy policy, specifying an August 3rd deadline for replies. The Commission shared their replies last week. The data point to focus on in each response from wireless services how long it keeps historical cell site location information, the CSLI, since cell towers have to know your location to provide you with service at all. Although one reseller called Invisive is now marketing a service that changes your phone's identifier to thwart long-term tracking. Until the 2018 Supreme Court ruling in Carbon versus United States law enforcement investigators didn't need a court-issued warrant to get CSLI carriers. And this location data remains a non-trivial privacy risk, even with that higher barrier to government curiosity. AT&T, which is the only one we need to go through for this case. So AT&T's response, PDF, reveals that it holds this data for longer than its two big rivals, specifying a retention period of no more than 13 months for information that identifies the current or past location of a specific individual's device and 5 years of historical cell call detail records, which include cell site location information. AT&T also noted that it has Android smartphone vendors embed IQI software in device firmware that collects device diagnostic and location data on passive levels, e.g. when a device powers on or contacts a new cell tower, including latitude, longitude information. So I asked the question. It is incredibly, incredibly clear that the prosecution could have and did request time advance records for people around this crime, including Bryan Kohberger. They seem to be not only withholding that information, again, the aforementioned 2 search warrants that are yet to be provided to Ann Taylor, the results of such. And not only that, but they want to go as far as to say that the information simply doesn't exist, and that's why they haven't been returned to Ann Taylor. They're literally saying, we can't give you it because they don't exist. Now, that's AT&T themselves saying, it does exist. You've got a specialist in Syray saying, it does exist. He knows they exist. So you've got the carrier saying they exist, a specialist in that area saying they exist, but you've got Eliza Masseth saying, not Eliza Masseth, sorry Eliza, sorry. You've got that other one, you've got that other weasel who's on the thumbnail, Jennings, Arsley Jennings. You've got who's telling you they don't exist.
Can't get 'em, mate. Can't get 'em.
Why? The question is why? Why say something doesn't exist when it very, very clearly does? And why are you, if you're one of the people, why are you accepting that she's telling you the truth? Is it purely because it helps you to further crucify someone who's yet to be proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt that he did this heinous crime? That's all I'm interested in hearing. Love you all. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday.